Hey guys, it's me, and we have a little bit of a different angle today because, as you can probably tell by the sliver of light coming in through my window, that it's the middle of the day, and while it's overcast, it's still really bright. And so to keep there from being just like a bright halo behind my head, I thought I'd flip the camera around today. And here's my desk. So today I just kind of wanted to do like a writing update and kind of talk about writing burnout. And so I talked about this a little bit last year because I did burn myself out at the end of 2017. And while I did recover, it's like I had just gotten out of like the creative ICU, and then I decided, okay, I feel better, I'm gonna go run a marathon. Like, no, I needed some more time, and I didn't take that time, and I burned myself out again. And this time it was a little bit worse because it's like I didn't realize I was burnt out until I didn't want to write anymore. So just like a quick update on what happened in 2017, in case you haven't seen that video, is I started the year off by editing my first book that came out, No Rest for the Wicked. I was doing like my final like proofreading and final read through and like formatting and things of that nature. I kind of underestimated like how much it would take out of me to like be editing like that much. And so in that case, like it really didn't bother me that much. I had started reading a lot again finally because I kind of had a slump, which I'll make a video about my reading slumps later. But I was out of my reading slump, and so I felt really good and I was really excited. And so as soon as I finished, you know, putting the final touches on No Rest for the Wicked, I started working on Whisper. And like literally the same day I finished Whisper, I started working on the Puppet Box, which if you've seen enough of my videos, the Puppet Box did not happen. Like I finished it, but like it needs to be rewritten from scratch, like whatever. So but basically just a quick timeline is I finished a few rounds of editing on No Rest for the Wicked, and then I wrote Winter Siren, and then I started writing the Puppet Box, and then I put that on hold to do some editing for Winter Siren to get that to beta readers. And then while that was with beta readers, I finished the Puppet Box, was super unhappy with it. And then I did another round of editing on Winter Siren before sending it to the first editor, and then I started working on Whisper. So in between rounds of editing with Winter Siren, I was trying to work on Whisper. So I finished editing Winter Siren like early fall, and then I realized I was kind of behind on my schedule for Whisper because editing took more out of me than I was expecting for some reason, because I had forgotten you know how much work it was to edit No Rest for the Wicked. And so I was done. Honestly, I was done. And I needed a break then, but I wasn't going to be able to stay on schedule if I didn't make myself right anyway. So I did make myself right, and this is 100% my fault. I should have contacted the editors and like kind of pushed things back to give myself more time to like recover from editing, but I didn't. I went ahead and finished it anyway because I knew I was capable of doing it. I just didn't realize I was going to like injure my creative bones so badly. And so I told myself, okay, it's November, we're going to take a break. And I did kind of take a break from writing. It's just I was still trying to like edit and brainstorm, you know, like the next project, and I couldn't settle on it because my brain wasn't working. And so eventually I had no choice but to just give up on that. And so then it was time to edit Whisper again to stay on track. So again, throughout all this, I am reading a lot, and it was helping to take the edge off, and it was helping me to feel better. So I was able to get to the end of editing Whisper. And then I did take like an actual break for like a month because again, I couldn't settle on the project, and so I wasn't really working on anything. So by the time I started working on House of Flying Embers, I thought I was recovered. But like I said in the beginning of this video, I had just gotten out of the ICU. I needed to like walk before running the marathon, and I went and ran a marathon because I felt good, and so I thought it was fine. And that's the start of how I burnt myself out this last time. Is at first everything was fine. I wrote the book, everything went super well as far as first drafting goes, then there came time for me to take a break, and I did take a break. But the problem was I was so stressed out trying to find like that next project so I can stay on schedule. Because when I first set up my publishing schedule, I wanted to publish so many books in the first 3 years, and then I was going to reevaluate whether or not that was sustainable. Long story short, I did not make it. I didn't make it because otherwise I would have a book coming out in the spring, and I don't. And I do have my poetry collection that I'm working on, but I chose to push that back into the fall, again, to not stress myself, even though it will probably be done in the spring. I just didn't want to rush anything. I didn't want to stress myself out. But all the stressing out I did to try to settle on another project, it was too much for my brain. And so I ended up not even settling on the project, and like I finished House of Flying Embers, I think, early May, and I ended up not being able to settle on the project until like October. And then as soon as I settled on the project, I felt calm, and then I finally took a break. And then a couple months later, I realized I had burnt myself out because I didn't want to write anymore. So, but before then, I had to put trying to make a decision on what project to work on next on hold, so I could do some editing. And this is probably the biggest part of how and why I burnt myself out this second time, and that's because my editor like completely dropped the ball on me. She didn't completely abandon me, as I have heard has happened to people. So I am thankful for that, but I should have touched base with her sooner. Basically, there was just a problem with like she thought she had more time to get to my project, and so she was not working on it at all. And she took responsibility for it, and she gave me a discount and things of that nature. But in addition to throwing me completely off my schedule, which was, I had plenty of time to edit without stressing myself out, but I did not, I was not prepared for things to not go on schedule. And in addition to being incredibly late, getting back to me, and then I had to send it back to her again, which I was not happy with. But again, like, she was who I was working with on this project, and so, we're doing more than one round of editing. But anyway, so in addition to being super late in that first round and a little bit longer in the second round, she did not do a good job. So I was kind of forced to, I did the best I could, I worked my butt off, I did the best I could, but I was used to, like, working with somebody who did a much better job than that. So I was used to kind of feeling like I had someone in my corner, and instead this time I felt like I was doing all this heavy lifting alone. And it was incredibly stressful, and it took, it was many long hours, like even longer hours, and much harder work than I had done on the previous 3 books. And by the time I got to, like, that last final read-through, like, I was so tired. And so I did take a break because I had to, because I was exhausted. So that is how I got burnt out. And so basically I got to, like, once I finally settled on the project, and just quickly, I had to go through all of my ideas and finally narrow things down to what I felt like, if I only wrote one story next year, I'm like, what story would that need to be? Because that's probably the reality that we're looking at. And that's how I decided on the project. And then finally, I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about trying to sell on the project, and I didn't want to ruin that story because obviously I was super excited about it. So I took a break. And I've been on a break ever since, and this was like October, and I haven't written since, and I've barely even tried to write. I actually haven't tried to write since like October, probably. I don't even think I have. I've taken like some notes, and I thought about the story, and I brainstormed some different scenes, but I haven't actually like tried to write. So basically why people burn themselves out is like maybe too much of a good thing, but also like not enough downtime and not enough like non-writing pursuits, because a lot of us, we have other interests other than writing. And so even though writing, it's like, number one until I burnt myself out. You know, there are other creative things I like to do. I do like to draw and sew and, you know, dabble around on the keyboard sometimes, and sometimes, you know, a couple times painting. Not very good at it, but and that's what I used to do back in the day. Whenever I would finish a project, I would force myself to take a break, and then for like 2 weeks or a month or something, I would work on like some sewing projects, or I would do some drawing, and it would keep like those creative gears oiled, but, you know, I'm not like burning out the engine, you know? And so like, obviously, like the first solution if you have burnt yourself out creatively is to rest, is to do none of that activity that you were overdoing to burn yourself out. So in my case, it's like no writing. And then that gives me time to, you know, maybe dive into a pile of books, or, you know, do some binge watch something on Netflix or something. It gives me time to maybe do a little bit of painting. So not only am I resting my creative muscles, I'm also like refilling my creative well, you know, with creative activities. And, you know, like watching a good movie or a good creative TV show with like good writing and, you know, imaginative plot points, like while that will definitely help fill the well, it is far more efficient if you do something that like forces you to use your imagination, like reading. Because like when you watch a movie, they do everything for you: the music, the facial expressions, the costuming, the layout of the land. Where when you're reading a book, you have to build all that stuff in your head yourself, and it fills the creative well a lot faster, and so it's a lot more efficient process. So like I can watch, you know, movies all day. Like I can do like a Lord of the Rings marathon, which will probably take all weekend, but like, you know, you spend all day watching Lord of the Rings movies, and while that will help fill the creative well, it'll only fill it so much. Where in that same time period, if I spent all day reading one book, I could have had, you know, I could do 2 or 3 times, you know, more well-filling than those 3 movies will do. And so that's why things like drawing and painting and sewing, where I'm forced to kind of like imagine what the finished project is going to look like and things of that nature, that's why they're also like more efficient at filling like a creative well. But of course, if all you can do is have a Lord of the Rings marathon, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and it will definitely help. So going forward, I'm obviously going to try to do a better job of taking care of my creative self. I am not at the point where I want to be writing a lot. I am at the point where I want to write. And so I do feel like maybe in the next like month or two, like maybe I will be writing again and working on my project that has been waiting patiently for me since October. I have been working on my poetry collection. Writing poetry is not the same as writing a story, and so it has helped like scratch that creative itch, but it's not like something that is going to burn me out, you know? And so it's just been like relaxing, and I gave myself way more time than I needed, because the collection is probably going to be 100% done by the end of March, and it's not coming out until August. That's why when I made my goals for the year, I didn't have any publishing goals for the year, because I didn't want to stress myself out, because I am trying to take care of my brain. So that is why there hasn't been any like writing related videos on this channel lately. And that's also why I haven't really been blogging about writing either, other than to have like a couple meltdowns, because, you know, meltdowns happen sometimes creatively, and it's totally okay. So yeah, so that is all for this video. Hopefully it's not too long or too rambly, and I will see you guys in another video and another time, and I hope things are going well for you.